Hot, heavy, loud and power hungry. All the negative things associated with the Fermi Firestarter, more commonly known as the GTX480. But now in 2018, we have to add cheap to the mix. This right here is the GTX480, the legendary card that needs no introduction, which is based on the GF100 variant of the original Fermi architecture. It was Nvidia's first foray into high-end DirectX 11 graphics cards, packing 480 CUDA cores with a clock speed of 700 MHz. It was quite the powerhouse back in the day. In fact, it was the most powerful commercial graphics card there was. It even had an extraordinarily high 1.5GB of GDDR5 VRAM, which came in clocked at 924 MHz. Which sounds great, in fact it sounded brilliant at the time. But this sounds great until you hear the negatives. Although beating AMD's HD 5870 at the time, it not only cost more and used nearly 250 watts of power, which is only slightly less than the beastly HD 5970, which was essentially two high-end AMD GPUs on the same PCB, which also performed better, as seen in my video that I've done on this card. Regardless of this though, the 480 CUDA cores was chosen because of such low yields. The GTX 480 was not an easy card for Nvidia to make. The 512 CUDA core versions do exist, but are virtually impossible to find or produce. Moreover, as shown by the GTX 580, the card needn't eat through as much power as it did. In fact, due to a rush release, it was just a little bit too hot for little to no reason, which was later fixed with the release of the Fermi era cards. But then again, when you're on a budget, can you really afford to be picky? Yes, it was £450 or $499 on release, but today this model only cost me £28 from CEX and can commonly be found in the $30 to $40 region in America on sites like eBay and Reddit. Essentially offering HD 7770 or GTX 570 performance, it's sort of in that kind of territory, so you know where we're going with this. Now, I can't actually clean this card, as the previous owner has somehow managed to bugger up the screws, essentially making it impossible for me to change the thermal paste. However, in my testing I found it not to affect the temperatures too badly, as the card is fairly hot anyway, and it isn't getting hot enough to thermal throttle, so we are seeing the correct performance. It does support all the way up to DX12 on a basic level, so it'll work in some modern DX12 games but not in others, and as I've seen in the GTX 465 video I've done, I tested it in most DX12 games, and they do mostly work, although not as well as you'd hope. Still, let's find out how this 8-year-old king of performance and heat holds up today.